CD Projekt's Red upcoming title, CyberPunk 2077, is pretty much almost everyone's anticipated game of the year. From its in-depth lore, immersion, amazing graphics, and almost guaranteed quality, this game looks to probably be the best game of 2020, and to rival The Last of Us 2. With the recent Night City Wire events, it has only built up the hype more and more for this highly anticipated game. However, I've also seen some criticism pop up about the gameplay, its weird clunkiness, and how it suffers from being not third person, you fucking tard. Where this game is shining above all other areas is its open world. The open world is constructed to just look beautiful. It accommodates to the player's needs and it just looks amazing. It's also one of the first fully open world in-depth Cyberpunk games. CD Projekt Red have done a great job to show us very little of this world and limit what we've seen, but also show us some really, really amazing parts of the world as well. With what we've seen, each piece of this world looks incredibly amazing, with the fully open world Night City and even the Badlands themselves, which look to show an almost completely different game world. The way the world just looks and reacts to the player is simply amazing, and the immersion it creates is on par with other games like Red Dead Redemption 2, CD Projekt Red's Witcher 3, and the Bioshock series. The attention to detail in this game seems to be one of the top priorities for this game, and it's probably why we're not playing it yet, even though we've been promised so many different release dates. The developer's idea of it's ready when it's ready only just further sells to me that this game is going to be amazing, because I know just how much the developers love this game and how much effort and time they are willing to put into this game just for quality assurance. The character and RPG elements as well seem to offer a huge amount of replayability, as we saw that this game can start 3 different ways, and this start can affect every future mission and dialogue option for the rest of the game. The Nomad, the Street Kid, and Corpo all offer the player a look from different perspectives on Night City and its culture and people. The Corpo gives someone an outlook on Night City from those who rule the city. Atop of the corporations, someone who is in power and works for those who are in power. Whilst on the polar opposite side, we can start as the Street Kid, which looks to give the player an outlook on someone who's been a part of those who are ruled and pushed down and know the way around the city and the gangs and its streets, whilst the Nomad offers an outsider's look on the city and someone who sees Night City as a fresh start. All options equally look interesting and offer so many different options for the player in the game. Whilst we don't know how diverse these options are and how much they can change up the game, I think that what we've heard and how it all work, each option seems to offer almost up a completely different game because of how much each mission will be changed up with each option we get to pick from the start. I definitely think replayability was a clear focus for this game, and each choice and decision in this game really matters and will tell a very different story just based on the choices we pick at the start of this game as either Street Kid, Corpo, or Nomad. Interestingly though, on top of all of this amazing and promising gameplay and world we've seen, we've heard very little about what the actual story will be in Cyberpunk 2077. We actually know very few details about the game and what it will actually focus on, who the antagonist is, and what is actually motivating the character. We know that Johnny Silverhand, Keanu Reeves' character, will be inside the player's head via a chip implanted in their brain, kind of like the Joker in Arkham Knight, and with him being more like an anti-hero rather than a completely straightforward good guy. This is said to create a very interesting dynamic between the player and Johnny, and I think it'll be interesting to see this relationship between the two kind of develop and change and how that'll work. However, other than this, we know very little about what happens in the game. Much like the game's open world, it seems that CD Projekt Red are playing the story very close to the chest and what it has in store for the players and what it actually revolves around. I think there's obviously going to be a variety of quests, side quests, things like that, but we have no clue what's actually motivating the character of V, which is very interesting to me because the game is focusing on the player becoming a legend of sorts, but what does the player want to become a legend? How is that going to work with Johnny in their head? It seems that Johnny's probably going to be key in motivating that player, what's going to drive them to fight against probably the corporations, and obviously there's most likely going to be tons of multiple endings, because of just how this game is built and how it looks, and they're no strangers to multiple endings with the Witcher series, so I won't be surprised in how any of that will work. But overall, I'm very intrigued by the story, but it's definitely not what actually exciting me the most about this game, and what's exciting most people about the game. It's the open world and just how in-depth and exciting it looks, and we haven't gotten a game like this in a very long time, and it's great to see a game like this get a great amount of attention, just like Red Dead 2 does, or Rockstar titles do in general. With that being said though, and the things that excite people about this game, let's talk about something that people have been criticizing the game for. Its gameplay, particularly its melee combat. And interestingly as well, CD Projekt Red themselves have stated that they aren't 100% happy with the game's melee and they're looking to make some reworks to it before the game's release. So it goes to show that CD Projekt Red are listening to people, and they also have very similar feelings about the game, and they're looking to fix those issues before release. Again, something that is just there for quality assurance, and something I just love to see from developers. The gunplay itself just looks very interesting, with different kinds of weapons offering different kinds of gameplay and strategies for the player. Power weapons are much like any usual guns. They use projectile ammo with cartridges and calibers. These weapons function essentially like normal guns, whilst tech weapons utilize railgun technology and are a lot more powerful and can penetrate hard surfaces, but they have a lower rate of fire. But the most interesting of the three categories of guns is the smart weapons. These utilize lock-on missile guiding technology and allow for curved bullets and let the player fire aimlessly at enemies who are hiding in tricky spots. All of these guns come in a different variety and rarities, of course. It is an RPG. The FPS elements in this game are not particularly amazing, but they look incredibly polished and they offer up a lot of fun by the looks of it. I will say though, it's clear that this game isn't aiming to be a first-person shooter RPG kind of thing, and it wants to encourage players to use a variety of melee weapons, mods, and hack and use the environment to their advantage, and fluidly combine these with the FPS elements rather than just the game either having guns or melee combat to use for the player, unlike other FPS RPGs like Fallout does. That's where I think this game separates itself just that little bit more from first-person RPGs, and it makes it stand out just that bit. It isn't completely focused on being a shooter, and it clearly encourages other elements of combat, unlike other games where it's just a pure FPS or melee-based combat system. But with all that being said, this game, it's an FPS at its kind of core with its combat, and I'm not letting that get in the way of this game looks amazing, the combat and everything's going to be amazing. I don't think it's revolutionary, but I don't think that's what the complete main focus of this game is, and it's just the world and character building rather than trying to revolutionize first-person shooter gameplay, which has kind of already been perfected at this stage. Something that I've noticed with this game being so anticipated as it is, the cyberpunk genre is really starting to kick off, and I think the mystery behind this game, of course, is one of the many factors creating this massive hype, especially combined with the promised level of quality that is only further selling this game and its immersion. I think Cyberpunk 2077 has kind of kick-started a genre in gaming that has barely been touched. We are already seeing copycat games and indie cyberpunk games being released now, almost purely due just to how anticipated and excited people are for this game. Personally, I'm extremely excited to see what this game has to offer, and from the very little we've seen, it has already sold me and many others on it. These small early game demos and trailers show an amazing game that we have barely touched the surface of, and I think with the release of this game we are actually going to get to see what this game is about, what the actual main parts of the game will look like. Now they could only further expand upon the amazing stuff we've seen so far. Because of just how little we've seen of the game, but how much everyone is excited for the game, that's why I think this could easily be Game of the Year and outmatch any other super complex game like The Last of Us Part 2. I think Cyberpunk 2077 appeals to a much more mainstream audience than The Last of Us 2 did. I think unfortunately all the controversy from The Last of Us 2 has ruined its possibility of winning Game of the Year. As much as I think it could win, it could very well likely not win because of its backlash, as much as I would love to be wrong about that. So unless anything can really outmatch and outplay Cyberpunk 2077 by the end of the year, I easily see this game winning Game of the Year above The Last of Us 2, which I personally loved, but I think Cyberpunk 2077 will outplay it and outmatch it. Maybe not in the story, but in its world and gameplay. I have been Seth from Silver Soul Gaming. You can check out everything Silver Soul Gaming in the description. Of course, give the video a like if you enjoyed the video. Comment what you think about Cyberpunk 2077. Are you excited to see what's in store for the game? What do you like about it? Do you have any complaints about it? And of course, subscribe to the channel. I stream over on Twitch. I will probably be streaming Cyberpunk 2077 when it comes out. Anyway, other than that, I will see you guys later next week for another video. Bye-bye.